Hi, I'm Joe Pergola, and the honor to Louise and Paul is most deserved from the city of Sierra Madre. I feel what I've learned from Paul, the main thing, is you start a job, you finish a job. I would like to say I'll miss you. But one of the things I'll miss about, we never solved the recipe on a green chili stew. However, you got someone up there that's near you. You may not have met yet, but Sam Pasquale, La Cacina, he owns that restaurant. I'm certain you two can butt heads on a super recipe. However, if he won't talk to you or you guys get in trouble, see St. Joseph. He'll always put food on your plate. God bless you, buddy.
You might add on the CERT thing, we were discussing the community emergency response team, and the table was all talking about it. And a little bit later, Paul came up to me and just volunteered without even being asked. He volunteered that if the city couldn't afford it, that he would provide the CERT team with what was needed. And there were 38 graduates of that class. So. And Louise was totally behind that project, and it just was comforting to know, and as I come to find out later, that this isn't unusual for Dr. Neiby, that he did a lot of this in the community, a lot of things unbeknown to the community, Dr. Neiby and Louise were involved in, and definitely going to be greatly missed, but we still have Louise with us, and I have a feeling she's going to be carrying on a lot of the things.
Amen.
I think that Dr. Neiby was wonderful. He always, if you got an ache or a pain or a broken leg or something, he always questioned how it was done and it was done proper. And he wanted to do it over most of the time. But he was a wonderful man. And he couldn't have done that without some backing from his wife, Louise. She was there for him.
You know, I think we followed up with everybody's health in our group. You know, you checked out what are you doing? How's what's the doctor doing for you? How's your health?
Yeah.
He kept track of us.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah, everybody.
Amen to
I know
that.
that he was one of the last. I don't know if he last week he was talking about the water tunnels. You know, I don't know if he want to fix one of the water tunnels. Anyhow.
You know that unfortunately that's that project that we haven't really been able to complete. He's going to do a history on the water and put it in on film so that people know what has been done, what we've done to keep our water supply going. And unfortunately, the documentary is not complete.
He was going to be the producer of your book.
Yeah. So we did spend a lot of time, and some of it's on film, but unfortunately, you know, he didn't get a chance to complete that project. We need to continue it in his name, though.
Yeah, he said that was good.
Very passionate about
good for
the water problem.
I'm Jay Woodcraft, and I met Paul when I was a trustee of the library, and I got to know him very well there because he always had words to say about keeping track of the money and making sure we didn't spend too much. And I loved him a lot. It's going to be hard for me to talk about him. He was always there for me.
He was quite a guy.
He was quite a guy.
No,
he was there for me and Joy all during the time I took care of her, and Louise was taking care of him. And we had a lot in common with that. Very supportive and a very determined man.
Was he a hard hat?
He was a hard hat. He got me to start with the, went out. I lost, that's no more on the audio, but I'll get it later.
We still got some audio going there.
So, yeah. Well, anyway, I got involved with him first on the archives. he was adamant on the fact that we needed to do better on the archives in the library. And as you probably know, they were shared. They had the libraries, had the archives in the library, but they were owned by the Historic Society. So we wanted to get some money so we could put the archives in better shape. And I had an archive experience over at the Huntington Library, and I said, would you come over and take a look at our archives? And she said, yes, this woman was an archivist. And she came to our meeting with Paul, myself, Tony, and Jeannie, and another archivist. And she said, you're doing it all wrong. So he said, what do we need to do? And Paul said, we'll do it. And he's the kind of a guy who is determined. And by golly, we did it. First, we sent a request to the state library. They turned it down because they didn't know what to do with the computer. Then we sent another one without the computer in there, and they gave us $72,000. And with the help of the Kiwanis and the Rotary and the city, we got $92,000 for that archiving. Wow. And that's how we hired Debbie Henderson, and she's still on. We don't hire at full salary now. She's only half-time, but she's still there. And that was largely because Paul pushed. Another thing that we did, which was really hard, he came again to the trustees. This was after he's a trustee, and he said, we've got to reactivate the oral history project. He said, because that's been stopped for 15 years, and we've got to keep it going. Well, I said, I agree. But guess what? We didn't have any money from the library. So he really embarrassed me, right? I was chair of the library trustees at that point. He embarrassed the hell out of me, I got to tell you. But I said, well, let's go to the Historic Society and see if they will support. And by golly, they did. So that's when he bought the equipment. I'm trying to get the Historic Society to now pay for it. You know, they said they were going to pay for it, but they didn't. Anyway, that's when I got this idea. So I'm hoping this works. This is with a laptop. And this is where we're going to do future oral histories. Anyway, that started, and I helped him on about 5 of them. He did about 10 himself. So between the two of us, we added to the 110 that were already there. I think we have about 150 oral histories. Wow. George is one of them, and you're part of one, and we're going to keep going. And I committed, that was like on a deathbed promise. I promised him I would keep it going, so I will. But I need help, so I hope some of you will
count on
help. Yeah.
By the way, that Debbie Henderson was a terrific,
yeah.
she's a terrific person.
Yes, and Louise, oh my gosh. Well, every time I had a medical problem, I'd go to Louise, and by God, she knew almost as much as he did. And I tell you, she was always there for me.
Jay, actually, Louise was the one that was the sharp one.
That's right.
She knew everything. She just did what she said.
Yeah.
You know,
He would never laugh at my jokes, though, you know. He came over and he wanted to learn how to be an instructor on Excel, you know. So I said, okay, sit with me in the class, and then you can take the next class. Well, he said, those jokes are terrible. It ruined my act, you know. So anyway,
you know,
there's a wonderful man, and she's a wonderful woman with him.
There's 3,000